Don't cry cause it ain't gon' rain every day. Don't despair cause it ain't your way. Keep it real, make the best out of any situation that you come across. Some lose, some lost, I'ma shake it off and get back to what I'm really about. Give the crowd something to feel. Tell me why you scream.
You are listening to the Danessa podcast.
Conversations from the couch.
So it's just the two of us tonight. No guest on episode 12 of season 2 of the Danessa podcast. But it's all good.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to just kick back, relax, and not have that pressure to perform, and make sure that the guests that you invited on your podcast don't feel like they're wasting their time. So
I don't ever feel that way.
You never feel that way?
No, sir.
So you're just always ready to go, ready to perform?
Yes, I'm a performer.
Well,
Indeed.
That's good. That's good. But this season, nonetheless, has been a spectacular season.
Yeah, it's been great. I've really enjoyed season 2. It's been something different, and it's been great. I guess maybe I'm biased, but
no, we've had we always get great feedback, but I think it's been nice to be different from season 1.
But at the same time, we cannot forget our season 1 roots, because that's like who we are in a way, and like why we started the podcast. So we're going to continue to have the guests on there, but kind of get closer back to
yes, I agree,
what we used to.
And hopefully the audience can see growth within us as well.
Yeah.
As far as us being comfortable behind the mic.
Yeah. I'm sure from the very first episode that we had like Dr. Clark on until now, I am certain we have grown. I haven't listened to that one in a long time, but I'm sure the growth is there.
It is.
If it's not, I'm embarrassed.
It is. I can honestly say
if it's not, I'm embarrassed.
Yes, and I'm not just saying it because it's our podcast, but others have also shared that with us as well. And I know we sound like a broken record every time we get on here, and we say thank you to our listeners, supporters,
But we really mean it.
Yes.
We really mean the thank yous, because it takes energy and effort. Like, you come up with the questions, you come up with what our topics are going to be. And so it's nice to know that people are appreciating, all the hard work that you're putting into it. Yeah. So it's important to say thank you.
Yes, it is. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It means a lot to us to know that people actually care about what we have to say. And thanks to our guests. We've had some phenomenal guests this year. The guests that we had last episode, David and Josh from the Blockheads podcast, they were awesome on giving us great information and education on cryptocurrency. So
and everyone just jumps on without hesitation.
Exactly.
I think that's been the coolest part about season 2. The different guests that we've had on here, they haven't been as personal to us as our season 1 guests. Like, our season 1 guests are like truly like in our everyday lives, opposed to our season 2 guests. There are things that we're interested in, but not necessarily like in our personal everyday life. So that's been really cool for this season.
Yes,
I like the
agree.
spin.
I agree. So before we get started on this episode of the Danessa podcast, just a little housekeeping. If you haven't yet, like our new Facebook page.
Yes.
The Danessa podcast.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up that thing. Also, follow us on Instagram.
People have been finding us on Instagram.
They really have.
We've gotten a lot of new followers over there, which is nice.
It's very nice.
We need to interact more. We need to do better about interacting on our social medias.
I agree. We'll make that a priority.
Yeah.
Starting at the top of the year.
See, look, you know what? When people want to put something off, they're gonna talk about it. We're gonna start that at the top of the year.
The holiday season. It gets very busy.
What did we just say in one of our episodes about go ahead and doing it now instead of waiting? So we're being hypocritical by saying we're gonna start in January.
You're right. So we will start being more active and interactive on social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, and we also have a TikTok account now as well, where you can catch little shorts and little clips of our podcast.
Yeah, so make sure y'all check us out.
The
Danessa.
Yes. And the coolest thing about the Facebook page is, I'm going to be honest with you all, I am the one. My wife doesn't do Facebook.
Not anymore.
At all. So to get information, go to our Facebook page. And also know the only reason that she is even reactivated her Facebook account was because of the podcast.
Because of the podcast.
And because I asked her.
Yeah.
So if you reach out to my wife and don't get a response, don't get offended.
Please, hey, listen.
She doesn't even know.
Do not get offended. Yeah, like in other aspects of my life, I'm very much on top of like emails and things like that. But when it comes to Facebook,
she doesn't get on, y'all.
I just don't get on. I really want to deactivate it again.
I know, but we will, because our Facebook page is getting a lot of likes.
Don't even reach me out on there, okay, guys?
Yeah, so I would say November will probably be the last month you will be on Facebook, and we'll deactivate that account.
Awesome.
Because I don't even tag you anymore on my posts.
That's for the best.
So that is awesome. But it is the holiday season.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving's around the corner. It seems like things are just flying by so fast.
But at the same time, I'm not going to complain about things going by fast either. It's like I'm kind of happy. Does that sound kind of crazy?
No, I understand.
Let's get this show on the road. Let's move. Like, get through.
I know why you're really happy, though.
Why?
Because your favorite show has started back.
You talking about Insecure?
Yes.
Now listen, people, couch cousins. But don't judge. Now, if you go look up Insecure, don't judge me based upon the rating. What is it called? Like the rating of Insecure?
It doesn't have a high rating?
No, like mature or whatever. I'm talking about that.
You're talking about that rating.
Yeah, I'm talking about that rating.
I got you.
Don't judge me based upon that. But Insecure is the show. It's so relatable. Like the characters on there, I relate to them. I actually talk about Insecure. There's someone that I used to work with, and we're like, okay, it's coming back on, and so we have like Insecure dates, and we talk about like the episodes.
Yeah, it's a great series. It is a phenomenal series.
Issa Rae did that.
Issa Rae she's great. She is so talented. So if you haven't watched the series, don't start now. You have to go all the way back
to season 1.
To season 1 because
it makes you appreciate season 5.
Yes, yeah. And the storyline is continuous. That's what I love about it too. But the last episode was so unique.
It had you in your feelings.
It had people in their feelings, to be transparent. I honest. You. It had both of us in our feelings.
Okay, yes, sir, but being honest, I feel like you were more in your feelings about what was going on with Lawrence than I was. If we're being honest,
I think it was mutual, baby.
No, sweetheart.
But it resonated with both of us.
Yes.
And we thought it would be cool to bring that conversation to the couch and do a deep dive on fatherhood.
Sure.
So the title of this episode, I was thinking about it, and you often hear the term, anybody can be a father, but not anyone can be a daddy, if that makes sense.
That's the quote.
Yes, I butchered that quote, but look it up. It's not my quote. So the title of this episode is The Love of a Daddy, The Pain from a Father. Because a daddy is someone, when I think of a daddy, I'm a daddy. I'm not just Jackson's father. I wasn't just a person that contributed to the conception of our son. I'm active in his life. And make no mistake about it, it's not even the fact that we're together and I'm in the same house, because you can be in the same home
and not be active in your child's life. Yeah.
And we both, our maturation process, who made us the individuals that we are today, the presence of our fathers, or just our fathers in general, played a large part into that.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's deep dive into this.
All right, so in thinking about, we were talking about the Insecure episode and how it kind of just brought up some different feelings. So thinking about your own personal views and your own personal thoughts, were you ready to be a father? And how has fatherhood really changed you as a person, and how has it changed you as a husband?
That's a good question, because everyone's situation is so different and so unique. With our situation, it was not a rushed decision. It wasn't a spontaneous pregnancy announcement. We planned for it.
We kind of lying.
Well, we planned.
We did, but we didn't.
It's news to me.
No, okay. I'm sorry, because I want you to get back to what you're saying. But we kind of planned for it because we kind of didn't like. We agreed I was going to get off birth control after we'd been married for about 4 years, and then it happened faster than what we thought.
Okay.
Being, being honest and everything about that. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I can say that I was ready to be a father, and it's so funny because I never understood the person who said they just weren't ready, and it just shattered their lives. I'm talking about specifically for fathers. But I can only go off of my personal experience. But I can say that I was ready to be a father, excited to be a father, extremely excited. And because, I mean, it doesn't come, your kids don't come with an instruction manual.
Right.
You have to figure it out as you go on. Did it change me as a person? Most definitely. And did it change me as a husband? Most definitely. Because you have to be so... How your child sees the interaction between their parents is going to affect how they interact with the opposite sex. So how he sees me interact with you is going to play a big factor on how he interacts with his girlfriends and his fiance and his wife if he decides to get married. So yes, now do I always do the best job with that? No, but that's a part of the process. But it definitely has, especially the older he gets.
Yeah.
Because he's 4 years old now, and he's at the age where he watches
everything.
Observes.
Watches everything and imitates.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
And even like you're talking about how, your interactions with me, it's going to affect how he interacts with, like, if he has a significant other and things like that. But it also impacts how he just interacts with other people in general.
Yeah.
Just watching how we treat people. Like if we're saying thank you when we're out in public and looking people in the eye, he's watching that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember he's at that age now where I do remember the interactions that my parents had. And individuals know my story. You know that my parents got divorced when I was at a young age. So obviously I didn't grow up in the happiest, most positive of home environments, but there were good moments and memories that I do remember, and I do cherish those moments. So I'm cognizant of the fact that we are now giving Jackson those memories and those moments when we have our game nights and we go to the park and we eat together and we're playing with Cinnamon together, just things like that. He's going to remember, and he hopefully will implement that into his life. So yeah, it's definitely changed me as a person and as a husband, and that's something I think that's inevitable. And even going back to the Insecure episode, even with Lawrence at the beginning, he was still kind of doing his own thing.
Right.
But he eventually, especially when they had that fight at the baby shower and that blow up, he realized that
he was being immature.
He was being
immature, but we're not even going to get on that because we have a whole episode that we have to, get through. But he was being immature.
The expectations maybe weren't. He didn't know the expectations, and that's what I kind of want to ask you, because we never talked about this, and it just hit me. We never discussed your expectations for me as a father to your son.
Our son?
Yeah, I mean, our son. But what were or are those expectations, and then your personal experiences with your father shape the expectations that you have for me?
That's a good question. I think that I would. Oh, okay. No, we didn't ever write out, discuss my expectations for you as a father. But I think some of that was intuitive. Once you got here, you realized, okay, I'm going to have to follow suit, do some things, and step up. I would say I would I was trying to like leading by example, like, okay, this is what we're doing, so you're gonna have to do it too. And like you did it, like you caught on, like this is a hard question because I just feel like how corny things are important to me, like cheesy family pictures, matching pajamas, like things like that for whatever reason important to me. And so you do it and you get excited about it. If we're going to the apple orchard to pick apples, you're excited about it too, because you just know, like you said, because we've had a conversation about this too, we want to create those memories for Jackson. So it's not even my expectation for you, more so your expectation of what you wanted to be able to fulfill for Jackson has just it's really surpassed what I thought my expectation for you would be.
That makes sense. But have they surpassed them because I don't even know, like some people like just want, if they just meet the bare minimum, I'm good.
No,
if they're just there.
I know this is going to sound crazy, but because I didn't grow up with a father in the household, so I got my expectation from television. So I got my expectation from like The Cosby Show, however you feel about it. I got my expectation from there. I got my expectation from The Fresh Prince. And so I saw a family that would get together. They would do things. They would have fun. They were successful. And so that's genuinely kind of where I built my expectation of, oh, that's how I want a family to be. When I would go to my friend's house and I would see, they had a 2-parent household and their parents were getting along, I was like, oh, okay, that's what I want to be. I didn't come from a place of lack. I came from a place of, oh, that's how it's supposed to look and that's how it can be. That's what I want. Okay. So that kind of built my expectation for.
So you not having a father in the house really didn't affect you as far as you still knowing what you wanted out of that position. Yeah, like I think it might have made me know it even more. Like it was like a non-negotiable. Like I even though we never really talked about it was like a non-negotiable. Like you don't have any other like you're gonna have to do this. Like we have a baby here now. You're going to have to be in this child's life. I was just like a non-negotiable that I think you kind of understood. Like I got to be here. I'm going to do this. And of course you would, like you are, that's who you are or whatever, but it's just non-negotiable, Joe. Yeah. But I mean, like we said, just because we're married and we're in the same home, that doesn't always do the trick. So even though we probably already were on the same page, I think
we had to get there more.
Yeah, we had to get there more. But I don't think it's, if you, maybe your situation is a little bit different, I think communicating those expectations may be the remedy.
Yeah, and I think in some degree, like we did have to, once Jackson got here and he started getting older, I think we did have to like, okay, let's sit down. We need to talk about some things. What's going to be your role in Jackson's life? What am I going to be doing? And talk about those things. That was important. And so my childhood and growing up with a father was different from the way that you grew up. Yeah. And so how did your relationship with your father affect how it has impacted your approach with raising Jackson?
That's a good question. And, my situation is not unique. There are several parents that ended up getting a divorce. But I always say that I was fortunate that my father, even though my parents divorced, wanted to be a part of our lives. So he is a daddy, and he did check a lot of boxes. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, do you wish things were different? That's a tough question, but I do think there were opportunities and moments in my life that if I did have a father, even though he was present, if he was more present, things would have turned out a little bit differently. Now, he was a great provider. I never went without anything. Even if it took my mom just having to fight him tooth and nail just to be transparent, he still would step up to the plate. The one thing I do realize and understand, and which I'm very cognizant with Jackson, is my father now he shows affection, but when I was younger, I really didn't feel that affection.
Okay.
And he would tell us that he loved us, but I was unsure for a large portion of my childhood and younger adult life. Like, does he really love me? And does he really know me?
Like, would he hug you?
Yeah, he would hug me,
Yeah, okay.
but you know when your parents, it's that affection. And when I was a teenager, I remember breaking down, and he had dropped us off because he would come every single weekend and visit me, my brother, and my sister. My sister went off to college, but he would come every single weekend and spend time with me and my brother. But there was just this one weekend, I don't know what happened, but he and my sister were talking, and she had said something like, and you know, when you're a kid, you know things, it's hard to understand, but you just feel it. And she was like, you don't even know your son. You have a 12, 13, 14 at the time. Like, you don't even know him. And it broke me down.
Like, you
Like, I started crying because
your sister, she was right.
she was right.
She was right.
And I never even thought about it. I was just looking forward to the weekends. My daddy would come up and he would buy us some new shoes.
Well, and that's, I mean, when you're young like that, you think that's what really matters. Like, you think that's what matters. Like,
Yes.
oh, going to get these new Jordans and
Yeah.
going to watch movies. But
Yeah.
I think when your sister said that, you realized, oh, wait, there's more to me just the material things.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it hurt me so much because I'm like, yeah, we're spending all this time together and he's making an effort, but it was very shallow and surface and superficial. And he didn't really know who his son was at the time. And it hurt me. So I'm so conscious of when it comes to me and Jackson's relationship, even though he's only 4, like even little small things, like when we went out, like we're talking about each other's favorite color, like him knowing my favorite color,
Yeah, he knows.
and he knows
your favorite color,
and I know his favorite color. Like, that means a lot. And I probably overcompensate when it comes to the affection part. I'm always just hugging on him, kissing him. Like, I'll tell him to like come sit in my lap and come give daddy a hug, and I'll do this for you if you give me a kiss. So because I don't remember receiving that from my father. Now, the older I get, I think he does. He probably does know that. So, like, because he's I was like, come on, son, I'm your daddy. Go give me a hug.
give me a hug.
Like, but I don't know. I think that was more just a bar man thing.
Yeah, I think that that can play a role into how you show affection towards your children. If you feel like kissing your child, like some people are like, I'm not kissing my child. Like, no. But if you feel like that's a nice way to show affection to your child, then so I agree with you. I think that plays a role. And you know, you've talked about like how your dad would come and he would take you to get some new J's and different things like that. And you've often mentioned like money and having enough so you can provide, you know, for your family. Does your father's success like play a role in this thinking?
Yeah, I mean, most definitely, because I think, and I don't even want to call it competition, but I always wanted to make sure that I was an even better father to my son than my father was to me. Not saying that he did a bad job, but it's just he always.
I think that's all parents. No, that's all parents.
Okay,
that's all parents.
Okay, and I'm doing a great job in all of the categories, except for that one category. And maybe that's why, even though, I mean, I'm
You're fine. You're doing great.
I'm successful.
You're very successful.
But I'm not as, monetarily wise, I'm not as successful as
where he was at your age,
at my age. I mean, he's an attorney. He's been an attorney for a while. So I think that's probably why. Because I want to be able to.
That's so weird.
I know, but
that's, you know, honestly, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I think that's kind of sad a little bit, because you are such a good father or daddy to Jackson, And when he sees you, he lights up, he runs to you, he wants to be in your presence. And for you to think he literally could care less about money. You know, like we have experiences with him that he's going to remember. He is not worried about. He's not even worried about the roof over his head. Like, if we're just being honest, like
if he lost that playroom,
if he lost the playroom, it would be some trouble. But you get what I'm saying.
I get what
I
you're
think
saying.
that it's important that you don't find your worth into like all the lavish things.
Yeah, but he's young now, though, baby.
Yeah.
Like when he gets older,
it's going to
the
be
more
there.
expensive he gets, and I know it will be there.
It'll be there. Just like he got it now. Like, that's the thing about it. Like,
I know,
he's
but
fine now. No,
I went to Disney World when I was his age, and
but what do I say about Disney World? What do I say?
You want to make sure we take him when
he is able to remember it. You aren't going to Disney World if you cannot remember. Okay, like I'm sorry. I do not care. You gonna have to remember this thing, baby.
Yeah.
So he not going no way. He not going right now.
It's a very expensive trip.
Yeah, I mean, he's close to getting to go.
Yeah.
But he got to remember that thing. He got to remember the shoes he had on his feet when he went to Disney World.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's still an experience. But how many times has he gone to the beach? Like, you sound very superficial. I did not know you were the type of person.
No, I'm not superficial, but you want to be able to say, I can get my son anything he wants. It doesn't matter.
He can
whenever he wants it.
When we start paying for this school.
I know, right?
Like,
God.
think about that. Like, you got to think about like what we're investing in. We're investing in his schooling right now. So
yeah. No, you're right.
We'll be ready for when school is free. We can't go when school is free next year. We can't go to Disney World.
Oh man, we might have another one making it by then, boy.
Off the top, we can go. So I think it's important that you do, father or mother, and I know this is more specifically talking about fathers, that we all parents want to provide their children with better than what they had. It has nothing to do with the competition. It's just like you have a child, like I want to give my child the world.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that I'm present and I'm fulfilling things in his life on an intrinsic level and not so much on the extrinsic and the material things. And I understand that's invaluable. You can't put a price on that. I understand that.
To a child that has a whole playroom.
To a child that has a whole playroom. But let's talk about the narrative of the absent black father, because Lawrence was obviously trying to be in his father's life. In his child's life on the episode of Insecure. But when you think about TV and fathers, you go back to that Fresh Prince episode.
Why did he love me, man?
And I mean, that's a iconic scene in sitcom and television history.
You remember when I was pregnant with Jackson and we were moving out of our old house? I was not really pregnant, maybe like 4 or 5 months. And that episode came on of when Fresh Prince, Will was talking to Uncle Phil, and he was like, you know what, my daddy want me, and like he was crying, and I started crying because it made me think, like, I have a child growing in my stomach, and I want to make sure they don't ever know that feeling of not thinking that a parent wants them.
Yeah. And I mean, it resonates.
Oh, it does resonate.
Also.
Oh, yeah.
But like, what are your thoughts on this narrative, and is it easy to buy into this narrative?
Give me more. What you mean, is it easy?
To buy into the absent black father narrative, because that is so repeated, and that's a stereotype of black men, is when we get a child, we're gonna bail. Is it easy to buy into that? Be honest.
Y'all not gonna like me, couch cousins. But you know what? I think that my experience causes me to have a biased view.
Okay.
So I think to a degree, the absent black father is a real thing, even though my daddy African. Anyway.
All right.
Just kidding. I do. I think it is a thing, but it's deeply rooted in the black family kind of being torn apart way before, now, and trying to devalue the black man a little bit. And so if you if a black father, if they know they're having a child and they don't see the value, there's so many layers to this question, because also you have to think about obviously how we're conceiving the child to get here. Mm-hmm. And so some of the times, we're just out here with whoever, whenever, and sometimes out of that night of passion, a child comes. Now, if I didn't like you in the beginning and it was just for us to have a sexual encounter, then it is going to be so much easier for me to bail. Then if you've kind of been in a relationship with a person and then you have a child and then the relationship's kind of rocky, it's easier, in my opinion. I know it's okay if people disagree. It's easier to bail out. Like, I think about my parents. I don't know the full story. Hey, don't even want to know. It's all right. I'm okay with that. But eventually, after 5 years, he pieced out for a little bit. So I do feel like sometimes it appears to be easier to leave and leave the mother with the child.
Yeah.
Just like in the episode of Insecure. Condola had the child and Lawrence was out doing his own thing.
But he wanted to be. And he even said that. He said, I'm at least trying.
He wanted to be to a certain extent. And when you're a mother, there's no want to be to a certain extent. You just get all or nothing. And sometimes fathers are like, okay, he wanted to only have those doctor's appointments on the weekends in that episode. Well, she knew that wasn't feasible. She has to get into the doctor's appointment when she can. Like, she has to go to the doctor during the week. And so having that convenience, and I don't want to just put on the absent black father. That's just sometimes any fathers. Yeah. Because also being in the school system, I do see a lot more mothers than fathers. And so that kind of has made me have a biased view as well, because when we have to pick up the phone to call, a lot of the times it's mom and it's not dad.
I don't think it's a biased view. I think it's a view that the media puts out there, and it's easy to buy into. And going back to that Fresh Prince episode, that series was a classic series that was viewed by millions of people on a weekly basis of all different races,
diverse backgrounds,
ethnicities. Yeah. And when you see that, it kind of plants a seed. And then when you take it to your own personal life, and heck, I'll use me as an example. I played soccer, and they would see my mom there, but my dad wasn't around. He at every single soccer game. Mm-hmm. He only came to one of my soccer games, just to be completely honest. So they're watching Fresh Prince, and then they get to soccer practice on the weekday, and Joseph's daddy is not there, the other daddies are not there. It becomes easy to buy into that narrative. To a degree.
Yeah. I agree with that. But see, that's why it's important you got to step up.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard just thinking about when we had Brother Thomas on an episode. That's why it's important when we're talking about saving our boys. That's why it's important. You just got to step up. Like, it isn't okay for the mom just to have to do everything. It is important for you to find value into doing things with your children.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
We could go real deep, but I'm not going to put all my business out here on Front Street.
Let's go.
But like, sometimes the absent father can also become an absent grandfather. Like, just personally, like, listen, couch cousins, y'all getting a little bit. Personally, my father, we send him pictures. When I say I send him pictures, text them pictures of Jackson, invite him to birthday parties. Has Jackson met my father one time?
No, he hasn't.
And that's not a narrative that the media has created for me. Unfortunately, that's the narrative that my own father has created. So I'm coming from the standpoint of, we have to stop the narrative at some point. At some point, you're going to be like, you know what? I have to step it up. It's one thing for the father not to be there for the child, but for your grandchild. And like, at this point, sir, I don't want anything from you. Like, I just totally want you to be in your grandson's life so he can know that side of the family, know that culture, because it's important. Now that I'm this age, I realize, hey, who cares if we are sitting around the campfire singing Kumbaya. That doesn't matter. But you having a relationship with my son really does matter, because I don't want him to become my age and not know the other side of his family. That is not fair. That's not fair. So I think it's important that the narrative is changed within the community, and we just start saying, hey, we not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And we have to rally around each other.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I agree.
Sorry, and y'all got a little bit of the business.
I agree. I mean, the narrative of the absent black father, it's a tough one.
Okay, so how has the narrative of the absent black father impacted you, and do you feel pressured not to be a great father for your son, but representation for all black fathers, so that the stereotypes of black fathers isn't there?
I would be sitting on this couch lying to say that there are moments where I don't feel pressured.
Okay.
And I don't like sending you and Jackson, or when you and Jackson have to go places by yourself, because I don't want people to think here's another single black mother.
And I know this is your part to answer, but do you want to know something?
Yeah.
If I do have to go places by myself with Jackson, I am very conscious to make sure I have my wedding ring, because I don't want people, and there's nothing wrong with listen, because I know we got listeners out there that are single parents. That's fine. Yeah. But because I grew up in a single parent home, it's just a stigma that I've given myself. Is that,
No, that means, yeah.
And that's horrible, but I make sure that I have on my ring, and also so people know, like, not looking at me like I'm crazy or yeah. That's sad though. That's sad. I know. Now that we're talking it out, I'm just ugh.
Yeah, and I'm just going to be honest. It's not like that all the time, but those thoughts do creep in my mind sometimes, where I don't want people out here thinking that Joseph Barr's son is only being raised by his mother.
I think that's fair.
And
that's fair.
People are going to think whatever they want to, and it doesn't matter. But yeah, that narrative, I'll have to be honest, that does affect me from time to time. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I do feel like I have to represent and be the great black father that is here with his son. And even though, and it's so ridiculous, because
that is like, now that you're saying, I'm like, this is totally ridiculous.
And this is why sometimes you have to step outside.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And look around you and really see what's going on. And when I step outside, I'm like, hold up. All my homeboys and my friends that are black, they are involved in
raising their children.
They're raising their children. And colleagues at work, they're raising their children. And I see so many black fathers, even celebrity fathers are raising their children. So I'm like, hold up. I shouldn't have to feel like I have to represent, because we're out here, we're doing the work.
But your experiences shape your views. So I think it's because the experience that we had growing up has kind of shaped our view into thinking about this absent black father narrative.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't think it alleviates any pressure knowing the history that your wife has with the absent father.
That's true.
I'm sure that puts more pressure on you.
It does.
And it shouldn't. Don't let it.
No, it does, because, and I will be honest, until I met your father, I didn't like him.
He's a nice man.
I mean, if you meet him, you fall in love with him.
You're going to fall in love with him. He's really nice.
He's awesome. But because all I knew is the story that you told me.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you young and you in love and you feel like you got, nobody going to hurt my baby.
Nobody going to hurt my baby.
So.
Be my baby life.
But when I really thought about just this topic and really after the episode, I think we have to show a little bit more grace, because I don't think that men, and forget black or white, just men in general, I think it's the circumstances that cause them to pull away and not be involved in that child's life.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the child. And maybe it took me being a father to understand that, because when you have a child and you can't explain the love that you have for that child.
Right.
And me now having a child and experiencing that love, now it really made me understand that my father loved me. I know he did, because that love is he still does. He's still here. My father loves me because you can't help it. You see someone that's a little version of yourself, but
you wish they would show it in. I'm sorry, I had to cut you off.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but you wish they would show it in a different way. I'm not going to disagree. Like my father, I'm sure he loves me, but I just wish he would show it in a different way.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. Yeah, I completely agree with that. But it's I'm saying the circumstances are the reasons, or is the reason why relationships between a father and a child don't turn out the way it should be. It has nothing to do with that child. Just thinking about just my personal experience with my father, it was a circumstance of him battling addiction and eventually going to recovery. With your father, it was circumstances that we still not sure about, but I know that they probably existed. And
yeah. I mean, because we're grown now, so we know now. And we understand how life works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But just to kind of sum it all up, fathers, there is a difference between being a father and a daddy. It's a very rewarding experience. Just thinking about me and Jackson, like I don't even have the words. Just being with him today, and taking care of him
with his pink eye,
and just see him. I'm his hero.
Oh, you really are. You really are.
There are no words, and I think every man that has a child wants to feel that way.
Yeah,
that's the best feeling in the world. But you also have to understand that it is a responsibility,
and you have to take it seriously.
Yes. And
I know we were summing it up, but sometimes you have to be bigger than circumstances. I'm sorry. See, look, you see how I took us back, couch cousin? You see I just rolled us right on back?
No, I agree.
Sometimes you have to be bigger than circumstances, and you have to think about the child and not necessarily yourself. But hey, that's it. That's all I got.
I agree. But listen, as I stated Sunday, I'm still Team Lawrence.
And listen, I don't even like Condola, but I'm Team Condola because and these are the characters from Insecure,
if you wonder. But no, I like when opportunities like that present itself, because it's especially topics like this, when it resonates with both of us. It's so awesome. I know it resonates with our listeners as well. But
and even if your daddy was there, you now see kind of the effects that an absent father or a different type of father interactions, because your father was there, can have on people. So it should make you appreciate, if you had a great relationship with your father, you should be appreciative. And I think it also just shows how relationships with fathers really impact you, period. There, not there. It has a very, very heavy impact, and it has a large weight on it. Yeah.
Facts. And that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, Couch Cousins, we love y'all.
Y'all got some business today.
We deep dive today.
Deep dive or deep dive?
We deep dove, we deep dive, we did all of this.
I'm embarrassed. Okay.
I love this format. I love when it's just the two of us, and you can see the quality. Listen, we got a good setup, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, listen, come on, you were. Thank you for listening.
Because we be on a Zoom call, and the audio be in and out, and they probably thinking like, "What y'all got going on?" Listen, we know what we're doing right here, and we're only getting bigger and better thanks to y'all.
When he says we, he's referring to himself. He is a one-man show. He does all the recording and the editing. I just get on the couch and get to talking. Okay.
Thank y'all so much. You listened to another episode of the Danessa podcast.
Conversations from the couch.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.